the US, and particularly within spiritual communities, we will also find that anger is one of those emotions that we really are uncomfortable with as a society, right? So when we look at a lot of mind, body wellness, there's all of this stuff about transcend your anger, rise above your anger, be a better person, right? As if anger is something that is unnatural or unhealthy. And what the wood element teaches us is that we have our anger for a reason. And our anger is to initiate change. Now, what we do with that impulse for change is where things can get a little messy, but the anger itself is purposeful, and it's powerful. Just like this sprout pushing up against gravity, basically we could look at gravity as the metaphor for what holds things as they are. And the wood is pushing against things that can no longer be the way they were. And so we need some agency and some power and some emotive life force chi to move things that are stuck and stagnant and that are needing to change. So enter anger, enter the wood element, and all of the blessings that it brings us. So this quote, a flower doesn't ask for its share of the sun, it grows instinctively towards the light. So if there's no thinking when it comes to the wood element, the wood element is not going to sit and ponder things but so much. The wood element is about decisive action towards change. So that can come out in really beautiful ways, or that can come out in really destructive ways. The wood element is kind of unbiased in that regard. It doesn't really care whether it's healthy or not. It's just, its goal is to move towards change. So the emotions that are associated with that upward trajectory are anger, frustration, rage, tension, impatience, agitation. So we think about that plant that is moving towards the sun, and we can imagine that, every time it tries to grow towards the light, someone came and stepped on it. So now it's got to start again. And then now it's pouring rain and it gets washed away. And there's all of these obstructions that this plant is encountering, trying to reach for the sun. It's going to sink back down and just say, well, maybe I'm not meant to be a plant anymore. Maybe I'm supposed to be, an earthworm, or maybe I should go back to being a seed, right? And so that's the expression of the wood element that is not able to fulfill its mission to change and expand and to grow towards light. And it shows up as depression, sadness, feeling hopeless, feeling unclear that I don't know if I'm supposed to shine, right? I don't know if I'm supposed to sprout. Feeling unclear, lacking vision, and being indecisive. So these are also aspects of the wood element that we'll want to throw some flower essences on in a loving way to help that chi to rise and push towards change. So let's take a minute and we're going to make this a little more personal. So I want you to take a moment to think about a time that you were angry. So as we're thinking about our anger trigger, we want to remember that anger is actually healthy. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have such a negative association with anger. Even with the Will Smith incident, it's, there's all this like, oh my God, why is he so angry? As if the anger itself is the problem. And so these are some of the things that anger is a signal for. And I learned this from the alchemical healing mentorship with Lori and Benjamin. As you look at your personal trigger of anger, which of these things was behind why you got so angry? What the wood element is asking us is to react or to respond. And so we can distinguish between the two, because one of them is going to discharge the energy, the life force energy of the wood element. That's going to be the reaction. And the response is going to be what actually creates the change. So we actually need both. We need a reaction and we need a response. The reaction, the movement of the chi, the movement of the life force can be either healthy and balanced or unhealthy. So not so great is hauling off and knocking someone out, but it's the movement of the chi. It's not a conscious thing. It's life force, energy, potent potential energy in motion. So the person that hits someone when they're angry, that's releasing the chi. The person that starts yelling and screaming, that is releasing the chi. The person who goes for a jog or starts to work out every time they get a little stressed out, that's also releasing the chi. So we can guide our clients, ourselves, our loved ones into having healthy ways to release that energy that wants to move and wants to have somewhere to go. But then our response, regardless of whatever reaction we choose, is going to need to actually come back and address which one of these is asking for change. So have you ever had the experience of yelling and screaming at someone who upset you and then it doesn't change anything? They do it again, maybe even the next day, right? So the reaction is not where the change is at. The reaction is about moving the chi. Some people cry. I'm one of those people. I just start crying. When I'm angry, it's like tears and snot and it's gross. It doesn't change anything. If the person is doing too much at the expense of my competence, I can scream and cry all I want, but unless I put something in place that is actually going to change them stepping on my toes, I'm going to be in the same situation. I'm going to have deficient liver blood. I'm going to have stagnant chi or whatever the thing is. If I don't find a way to really assert my boundary in a way that it is heard, again, the reaction isn't going to change anything. So when we're thinking about flower essences, we're thinking about from the perspective of how do I support someone in addressing what is going to preserve the integrity of them, of their self, which comes back to these guidelines here.